Hello, welcome to yet another episode where we shall be looking at the revision test for the grade 9 September test, okay, for mathematics 2025. So I'll use this paper as a guide. So we have 75 marks, 1.5 hours, 14 pages, and 4 questions. Okay, let's see if we can work through this. Okay, so question number 1 is the MCQ multiple choice. They're telling us that the equation of the straight line given below is. So we have the line that is cutting -1 and a +1. So start by finding the gradient, okay? So we know that the gradient is change in y over the change in x. So this graph is having a positive gradient, okay? So that's going to be a 1 over a 1, meaning that the gradient is a 1. But the y-intercept is also a 1. So since the equation of a straight line is given as mx plus c, our m is a 1, so it's a 1x plus 1. So x plus 1 should be the answer, and option B would be the best. Then 1.2, the equation of a graph that passes through this and this is, so start by finding the gradient. Okay, change in y over change in x, so I'm going to say 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 3 over 2. So this becomes -3 over 3 over 2. When you take that on top, the gradient becomes -2. Okay, so if the gradient is -2, when x is 0, y is a 3, this point represents the y-intercept, meaning that your equation is going to be -2 with x plus a 3. Okay, which is option A. 1.3, the linear graph for the equation this is, so we have 4 graphs. We have A, B, and C up to D. So if you are to draw this, look for the intercepts. If x is a 0, okay, y is going to be a 6. So x is a 0, y is a 6. So we only have option B and option A. The rest are out because they're not passing through 6. Then let's look for the x-intercept where y is a 0. So 3x plus 6. Let's move the 3x that side. So 3x is a 6. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X needs to be a 2. So the graph must be passing through 2, which is this point and that point. So graph A takes it all. Okay, then 1.4, they're telling us that angles formed from perpendicular lines are acute angles. Nope, they are straight angles. Corresponding angles, they are called right angles. Okay, angles that form 90 degrees. Then they are asking us for the size of D. Now, when you look at D and 60, they are equal to each other because they are vertically opposite. Okay, vertically opposite, so D is going to be a 60. And then if AB is parallel, if the lines are parallel, then we create what we call the fan angles, okay? So what is the size of X? So X and 40 are going to be the same because they are forming some bit of F, okay? So they are corresponding, so X needs to be a 40. Then 1.7, okay? The figure below, AB is the same as AC. Okay. And then AE is the same as AD, which is fine. So this is the same as that. Why is this triangle congruent? Remember, these 3 lines simply represent the congruency. Now, for congruency, we said all the sides have to be identical and all the angles must also be the same. But in this case, we're not dealing with angles, we're dealing with sides. So if 2 sides have already been given to be the same, which means even the other side will be automatically the same. So option C is going to be the answer to this. So we're looking at all the 3 sides, side, side, side. 1.8, 2 triangles are similar if all angles are equal. That is correct. If corresponding angles are equal, this is congruency. Corresponding sides are equal, that's congruency. Right angle, hypotenuse, and 1 pair, that is congruency. So option A becomes the best option. And then the property of a kite is property of a kite. We know that all sides are equal. Nope. Two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. Perfect. Adjacent sides are perpendicular. No. Diagonals bisect each other. No. Just one diagonal. So option B is the best. 1.10, property of a trapezium, one pair of parallel lines. All sides are equal. Diagonals, nope. One pair of opposite sides are parallel. Option C becomes the best option there. All right, then question number 2, we are given the graph. This graph, according to what I'm seeing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's passing through -6, and it is passing through a +3, okay? They want us to determine the x-intercept. So x-intercept is basically a point where the graph cuts the x-axis, okay? Meaning that x is gonna be a 3. Alternatively, you can say it's a 3 and a 0 in coordinate form. Y-intercept, we said, is the -6, okay? So it's going to be, y is a -6, or you can say 0 and -6. Okay, then determine the equation of this graph. This graph is passing through -3 here. And this is 2, 4, this is a -6. -3, -6, they want the gradient. So we know that the gradient is the change in y over change in x. So these coordinates will be -3 and 0. The coordinates here will be 0 and -6. Do the magic and say 0 minus -6 over -3 minus 0. How do we do that, or why do we do that? Remember, your gradient is like y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if this is, let's say, our x2, y2, x1, y1. So I'm saying 0 minus -6 over -3 minus 0. So that gives me 6 over -3, and then our answer becomes a -2. Alternatively, look at the shift. We have 3 units there. We have 6 units there. But this 3 is for the positive, and then the 6 is for the negative. So it's going to be a -6 over 3, and the answer we get will be a -2. Okay, then study the table below and complete it to find the value of y. So use your substitution or the knowledge of substitution. So for us to get the value here, we're going to replace x with a -2. So that's a -6 plus 8, which is a 2. And then if x is a -1, this is going to be a 5. If x is a 0, it's going to be 8, 11, and then 14. Then plot this graph. Okay, so when you're plotting a line graph, okay, I'll advise you, just plot 2 points. But as long as it is a straight line, 2 to 3 points will be enough. So I'm going to plot this point because it is easier for me. And then I can plot -2 and 2. So 0 and 8. Oh, they did not even label this. Okay, so let's do the labeling for ourselves. So if this is our 0, the origin, this can be a 1. This is a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is going to be a -1, -2, -3, and -4. Then up here, we can set 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, -2, -4, -6. The intervals need to be the same. So we said we're plotting 0 with 8. Okay, so 0 with 8 is going to be found here, the y-intercept. And then the other point we said is -2 with a +2. -2 is here, +2 is here. So where the -2 meets with the +2, that is the point of interest. So those are our points, and then all you have to do is get your ruler and then connect that. So let me see. That's gonna be a 2 comma something. Yeah? So your line should be in that sort of direction. Okay, just forgive my skewness, but somewhere there, that should be your line. Okay, so after drawing that line, label it and say y is equal to 3x plus 8. Okay, then they want us to draw this other line. So this 2 represents the y-intercept. And then we can find the x-intercept, replace y with a 0. So 0 is a half of x plus 2. Move this 2 that side, it's going to be negative 2 is equal to a half of x. Then we can get rid of the 2 at the bottom, this denominator. So times 2, meaning that our x is going to be a negative 4. So here, so your line must be passing through negative 4 and a positive 2. Okay, so y is a half of x plus 2. All right, then 2.5, they want the equation. Why are they asking for lots of equations? So this point A, I'm seeing the coordinates to be 3. It's 3 and 3. Is it 3 and 3 or 3 and 4? It's 3 and 4. Okay, so the gradient, okay, remember I said change in y over change in x. So our change in y is going to be a 4 over 3. That's our gradient. The y-intercept is a 0. So the equation is going to be 4 over 3x plus 0 because it is passing through the origin. Okay, then question 3. Given below, they are telling us xy is perpendicular. That symbol is for perpendicular, meaning that there's a 90 degree to AB. Determine with reasons the size of XBA. XBA, what angle is here? So we know that a 90 plus our XBA should give us 180. Then let's move this 90 that side. Remember, the reason is going to be adjacent supplementary angles. So XBA is going to be 180 minus a 90, which becomes a 90. Okay, that's how we would have answered 3.1. 3.2, they want us to get the size of y. Okay, they only want the size of y. So we know that this angle and that angle are equal because they are vertically opposite angles. So how do we write that down? We can say that y plus 30 is equal to 87. Reason is the vert op angles. Now, if you leave out the reason, you're going to lose marks, meaning that your y is going to be 87 minus 13, and then becomes a 57. Then 3.3, in the figure below, they're telling us that PT is parallel to QS. And then this angle is A plus 30, which is that. The angle T is A, which is that. And then QS is 2A. RQS is 2A. Complete the table below, okay, as you determine the value of A. So we know that TQS, okay, TQS, this angle here is going to be the same as this angle because of alternate angles. So I'll say that is A. Okay. And then they want us to get the size of A. They want us to get the size of A. So what we can do there is if we try to plus up whatever is on this line. So 2A plus A plus A plus 30 should give us 180. Reason, those will be adjacent supplementary angles. The word adjacent simply means angles that are just next to each other. So 3A plus 30 is 180. Let's move the 30 that side. It's going to be 180 minus 30, which gives us a 150. Divide by 3, divide by 3. A becomes a 50. All right, so that is 3.3.2. Then 3.4, in the diagram below, DF is a straight line. And then we have these lines that are parallel. We have lines that are perpendicular. They want us to get the size of y. So if this is a 90, we know that the wall of this is also going to be a 90. meaning that if we get 35 plus the 3y minus 20 should give us a 90-degree. Reason, adjacent complementary angles. So what is 35 minus 20 is going to be a 15. Okay. And then what is 90 minus 15? That gives me 75. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So 75 divided by 3 gives me a 25. Okay, so we get 25 degrees for that. Then they want us to get the size of Z. Okay, this angle here. Let's change colors. This angle here. So what we need to know is, I don't know how we can put this out. We can start by getting X, but X is the last part, so it's not a big deal. Let's use the co-interior. That this angle here and the Z will be co-interior. But we know that 3y minus 20 is going to be the same as 3 times 25 minus 20, which is it 55? Because 3 times 25, 75, minus 20, you get 55. So I'll have something like Z plus 55 must give me 180. Those are co-interior angles because the lines are parallel. AB is parallel to PQ. Then let's move the 55 that side. It's going to be 180 minus 55. Okay, so 180 minus 55 gives us a 125. And then our X, so if this angle here is a 55, even X must be a 55 because they will be alternate. Okay, so that's also 55. So we're going to say that X is 55. Alternate angles, we said AB is parallel to PQ. Alternatively, since you have the 125, we can say X is a 55. Adjacent supplementary angles or angles on a straight line. All right, then we move on to question 3.5. We have a set of parallel lines, okay? And then they're telling us that COS is 124. Complete the table. What is X? So X is going to be the same as the 124 there because of the F that will be created there. Okay, so X is 124, corresponding angles. And then what is our Y? We need to find Y there. So if X is 124, we know that this must also be a 124, meaning that Y plus 124 must give us the co-interior. Okay, I'm saying Y plus 124 must give us 180. The reason, co-interior angles, because of PQ is parallel to RS. Then we need to subtract and say 180 minus 124. 180 minus 124, it becomes a 56. Okay, so that is a 56. We have that. And then they want us to get Z. Z is going to be a 56 because it's creating a Z itself. Okay, so it's 56. It's going to be alternate angles because PQ is parallel to RS. All right, then question number 4, given the triangle, determine the size of X. So this is an equilateral triangle. All the sides are equal, meaning that all the sides must also be X. So X plus X plus X should give us 180. Those are interior angles of a triangle. We need to give reasons for every statement, or for most of the statements that we make here. So 3X is 180. X becomes a 60 when you divide both sides by 3. All right, then 4.2. We have this, given XY, determine the length of Y. So if this is a 70, this is a 70. we know that this is an isosceles triangle because these angles are the same, meaning that the sides must also be the same. Y is going to be 7 centimeters. Reason is going to be the sides that are opposite equal angles. These were angles that are opposite equal sides, so sides that are opposite equal angles. 4.3. 4.3. In the diagram, they're telling us that AC is the same as CE. Angle A is the same as angle E. Can we prove that the two triangles are congruent? Now remember, for congruency, look for what is the same. Okay? Look for exactly what is the same. So we can say that AC is the same as CE. The reason is that it's given. We've been told. Angle A is the same as angle E. We've been told, so the reason is given. And then we can look at these ones. C1 is the same as C2. This angle is the same as this angle. So those are vertically opposite angles. So what is the question asking for? Prove that ABC, this triangle on top, is exactly the same as the triangle at the bottom. So we've seen this going with that. This angle here goes with that angle, and then this goes with that. So we already have the three fundamentals that we need. Then draw the conclusion and say, therefore, our ABC is congruent to DCE. Reason, we use the side, we used an angle, and then we used an angle. So that is how we would prove that. And then 4.4, they're telling us that ABC, now the three lines that are facing up represent similarity. Okay, so the triangles are similar, meaning that the angles are the same, but then the opposite sides will be in proportion. They want us to get the size of X. Okay, let's see. If this is the same as that, meaning that this angle goes with that angle. Okay, chances are high that this must go with that, this must go with that, and then this one must go with that. Okay, sides that are in proportion. Let me just mark this off like that. And then, so with this, try to check the proportions. Okay, so this one is my big triangle. This one's my small, in as much as the size could be misleading here. So if you get a 6 divided by this 2, we get a 3. If you get the 9 divided by 3, it's also giving us a 3, meaning that I'm going to say that AB over this longer side, which is ED, should be equivalent to my NN. I can say, we said AB first, which means we're starting with a small triangle. I'll say AC, which is CA, divided by CE. The reason, you can tell us that sides in proportion or similar triangles. Our AB is X over 12 is equal to the CA, which is 3 over 9. So multiply both sides by 12 so that we look for the value of X. So times 12 times 12. This cancels that. Then X becomes a 36 over 9, which is a 4. Okay, because we know that 4 times 3 is going to give us a 12. So that is how we would have answered that question. And then 4.5, determine the values of x, y if these lines are parallel. So if this is a parallelogram, by the look of things, okay, this must be equal to that, meaning that y is going to be a 16. Reason is going to be diagonals of a palm. They bisect each other. And then with the angles, we know that the opposite angles must be equal to each other. So 3x plus 15 should be equal to 5x minus 40. Reason is opposite angles of a palm. A palm is just a short form for a parallelogram. Let's collect the like terms. I'll have 3x minus 5x. I have a negative 40 minus 15. This gives me a negative 2x is equal to 55 negative over negative 2 over negative 2. So what is our x? So 55 divided by 2 gives me a 27,5. Let's hope I did justice to the question. All right, so that is 4.5. Then 4.6, x, y, z is 100. Okay, this angle is 100. This is a 20. Determine the size of x and y. Now, if this side is the same as that, this is x, this must also be x because that is isosceles, okay? So start by telling us that y, z, x is going to be x. Angles that are opposite equal sides. Then if that is true, then we're going to say x plus 100 should give us 180. Those are interior angles of a triangle. And then twice x, we're going to move the 100 that side. It's going to be 80. X becomes a 40. Okay, so that's a 40. That is a 40. Now, for us to get the y, remember y is going to be an exterior angle to this triangle XYZ. Okay, and we know that exterior angles must be equal to the opposite interior, meaning that it's going to be equal to this 100 and the 40. So meaning that it is 140. Reason, exterior angle of a triangle. Okay, that is 4.6 for us. Then 4.7, these lines are parallel. A is a 90. It doesn't look like 1, but it's fine. They want us to get the size of x. So if this is a 141, which angle is exterior, it should be equal to this y plus this 90. So I'm going to say that 90 plus y should give me 141, exterior angle of a triangle. Move the 90 that side, y is going to be 141 minus 90. Okay, 141 minus 90, which becomes a 51. So y is a 51. And then x is also going to be a 51. Why? Because we have this f here. So these angles need to be corresponding. So corresponding angles, because VW is parallel to BC. Okay, so that is 4.7. And then 4.8, which is probably the last question. Study the diagram below. Okay. So it's more like a trapezium with a square and, okay. They're asking us to classify A, B, C, D. What do we know? The diagonals are bisecting at 90. So this has to be a square. Okay. And one reason is that the diagonals bisect each other at 90 degrees. Okay. Then determine the size of ADF. ADF. Remember with the square, that's a 90, that's a 90, that's a 90. But then if you have a diagonal, then this angle here is going to be a 45. Okay. So it's saying that ADF is 45 degrees. Okay, or you can say 90 divided by 2, which becomes a 45. And then that is it. That is it. All right, guys. So that brings us to the end of this paper. Please, I know it's been a heavy paper. It's had a lot of similar concepts, okay? Lots of questions to do with straight lines, equations, and all of that. Just use it as a guide, as a revision, as you prepare for your test, okay? I wish you guys all the best. I believe and I trust you can do it. Make yourself proud. Go there and nail the paper. Till we meet again, bye-bye.